Hello and welcome to episode 31 of Lost and Chronologically Lost, where Matthew realizes he was pranked and that Libby did not die last episode. She dies this episode.
Yeah, and I'm really upset about it because I thought maybe she would live, and then she didn't, and it sucked.
Yeah, you get a two-punch for her death there. And just to say, just due to some timing things, we're actually only covering one episode today as opposed to two. It just works better for timing.
Thing.
Yeah.
It's both finishing season 2 in our next podcast and just the timing right now. I literally do not have time to watch another episode before recording this, which sucks because the way this ended makes me really want to see the next one.
Yes. So we begin this episode with Echo in a dream sequence.
Yeah, and I'm glad it was a dream sequence because with, Michael doing his plan, people dying, I was like, I don't care about building this church right now. But luckily, this wasn't about that.
Right. So Anna says you need to help John, and, Yemi says to the Swan that pushing the button is important, and to help John and say, make him take you to the question mark, and then Echo wakes up. So what do you think the flashbacks for this part were?
Probably the thing that Echo tells Locke about later on, just the Yemi stuff.
Well, this was Echo in Australia, going through the supposed miracle.
Echo stuff, yeah. Obviously it was an Echo episode.
He wakes up, Echo goes to Locke to try and figure out what the hell the question mark is.
I expected it to be more important. I thought that, maybe this would be, how they find the orchid, but they just find the pearl. And
well, I told you it would be meme, and it's meme because it's a question mark because the dot at the bottom of the question mark is just the Pearl logo. You didn't catch that? Because its logo is just a dot, anyways.
Yeah. Well, all this feels like it leads to in the plot is Locke loses some faith and Echo gets some more faith, but I mean, it was still cool.
Yes. So Michael stumbles out of the hatch, but being like, "Oh, I was attacked. Oh no."
Yeah. Well, I forgot to mention something. Echo seeing Yemi in the dream, it hit. He was apologizing and I understand now, and Yemi is proud of him. It was nice.
Oh, absolutely. It was.
It's a payoff that I was waiting a long time for.
Yes.
Yeah, but now they see Michael stumbling out and spreading his lies and deception, and they find the bodies.
Yes, I have to say this is also very interesting to me because, this will be coming out in, I think, January. We're recording this on Halloween. Exactly.
Yeah, that's why I don't have time.
Yeah,
that's one of the reasons.
This thing exactly. So for Halloween this year, I decided to delve into the Scream franchise, and this is literally what happens in the fourth one. The girl thinks she's gotten away with it by mutilating herself and killing some other people, and only to find out, oh no, one of them survived and she's fucked.
Yeah, and I really thought this would be I thought the plot would go they leave, and after they leave, Libby wakes up and tells someone else, Michael is the one who killed me. But instead, I just expected, I expected this to be a faster episode. I expected them to almost immediately go out towards, do Michael's plan, go find the others. Because there's not that much time left in Season 2.
Yeah, but they have to save that for the finale.
Yeah, but I expected us to, move towards that faster. But I think it does make sense, because there's no way that they, everything that slows this down makes sense. Obviously, Jack has to treat Libby. Obviously, they're gonna bury them. It would have been out of character for them to not do all of that.
Right, and Echo's giving some rights to Anna now that she has died. Jack does first say, hey, I wanna, let's go catch up to Ben right now. And Sawyer's like, you're the doctor. We have an injured person here. Which is you know what? Yeah, Sawyer's... Listen to Sawyer in this case once.
Sawyer was pretty good this episode. There were multiple moments I was happy with him.
Right. So Echo and John decide to go because Echo's going to be like, we're not going to chase after him. We're going to do something else.
As soon as Echo does that, I'm just like, ugh, you're going to make him do the other thing. But, it's okay because it was clearly a magic vision. like even if like Jack wouldn't believe it was a magic vision, but it was a magic vision, and Echo knows that.
Yeah, I heard that this episode was written because apparently some director who uses a lot of dream sequences was going to come direct an episode, and they wanted it to be this one, so they wrote it for him. But then he didn't end up directing it anyway, so it didn't matter. Like,
did he direct a different episode?
I don't think so. It said he didn't direct it due to his son being born earlier than expected. So.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm also fine with Echo and Locke doing this because they weren't gonna catch Ben. That was just clearly not how this plot was gonna go.
Yeah. Well, like he says, it's night, and Ben didn't leave a trail. Like, he's an other.
Yeah.
So instead, Echo demands to know where the question mark is, but Locke won't say because he's just distraught over a lot of things. So
I feel like if you told Locke you had a magic island vision, he would believe you.
Like, I mean, Locke's had one. Like,
yeah, Locke is like Locke wants more people to have that kind of vision.
Right. But so he knocks out Locke, and when Locke wakes up, he's like, "Hey, fine, whatever. Here, take my little pencil sketch to go find it."
Echo somehow logics out the directions because he knows where the other base was and where the hatch is. Locke is mentioning how like Ana Lucia would still be alive if he had told Jack, and Echo is just like, Ana Lucia wants us to live. These episodes in general, Echo is very much more concerned with their purpose than with the dead.
Yeah, it's
a little messed up at a point near the end, but we'll talk about that when we get to it.
Yeah, that's true. So, as they're going, Echo steps on a statue, and so obviously for him that's a sign, right?
Yeah. And they get to the plane, and we've already talked about how meme it is that the hatch is under the plane and nobody saw it.
Especially with how difficult it was for them to open this. Meanwhile, Nikki and Paulo just got in there so easily.
It's like the ways it would have had to have been moved. The plane would have had to have been moved back and forth, and the hatch would have to be buried to explain everything. It's definitely silly.
Yeah.
And I like how Echo's like, "What made it fall?" and Locke just says, "Boone."
Yeah. So then back at the hatch, Michael is very worried Libby has said something.
Yeah, and I'm still disappointed that she doesn't end up saying anything. Yeah,
and then Jack says he can't save her, he can just make her comfortable, so he wants the heroin.
At first I was kind of like confused that like, is he gonna use the heroin to treat her, but like, no, she was just gonna die.
Yeah. But he also, he's a pragmatist, he's not gonna pass up this opportunity to go also find out where the guns are.
I mean, it's definitely really manipulative, but like, it works. He forces Sawyer's choice, and Sawyer isn't gonna be that bad. Sawyer isn't gonna be that bad of a person.
Right, and I remember the first time I saw this, I was like, oh, his stash was just under his tent the whole time. And then I'm like,
that's the last place anyone would look.
And it's like that doesn't make the most sense. It's the most protected place he could put it.
Yeah.
And then we have Hurley asking where Libby is, and it's just like, oh.
I'm just glad they told him, because if they tried to lie to him to protect him, that would just make things worse when he eventually would find out.
Yeah. So then we have another dream sequence where Locke is dreaming that he's Mr. Echo.
Yeah.
Which, if you notice, that's why Echo's walking with a limp in that dream.
But then he climbs up following Yemi, and he sees Yemi in a wheelchair telling him to wake up. So that's how Echo figures out they have to climb. And I want to mention, while Echo's climbing, he almost falls. And do we count that alongside how everybody, randomly falls?
No, that's a climbing fall. That's not a running fall.
But it's the same amount of,
No. Those are two very different things, I'd say.
But I think it's still a significant thing, because they always have to put things in like that don't matter but happen.
Well, the thing is, when people are running in the jungle, it does matter that they fall down. It's just ridiculous that it happens so many times.
Sometimes it matters. So he goes to the top, and he sees it looks like the symbol from above. And they're like, whoa. It's a crop circle, because the earth is salted.
Yes, which is just... Why?
Because it's vaguely religious. I don't know. Is it?
Anyway, also
Or is
salting
that
the
just a
Earth
history thing?
is like just such a ridiculous thing, especially because the most famous story about it is completely untrue. Like it is cool to be like, oh, Rome, when they finally defeated their nemesis Carthage, they salted the Earth so nothing would ever grow there again. They didn't do the amount of salt that would have required to do that would be like would have cost them trillions of dollars.
No,
They didn't have.
I'm pretty sure at one point in Roman history they were paying soldiers in salt, because like that was valuable.
Well, because it was so valuable. Yeah, like
And rightfully, you know how good it tastes.
exactly. Yeah, I can understand why people went to war over spices. Like if gotta get that cumin.
That shit mattered. That is historically significant. Anyway, they are apparently strong enough to push the plane, but I guess some planes are surprisingly light, and they open it up.
So then back in the hatch we have Jack with the heroin, and Hurley just unknowingly guilt tripping Michael, talking about how
I
he's
love it. I
gonna go on
love
a date
how
with
much
Libby.
Michael gets guilt tripped. I love how that, and I love that, like, we never see Michael talk about how he feels because he has nobody to talk to about it.
But we do
just
see
from-
him like
just-
throw up
but
due
I
to
know.
guilt. Like
But I'm just saying, like, just due to his acting, we get that sense of how he feels inside, of how much he fucked up. And I really like that. Like,
yeah, I feel
I no
especially
longer-
with Libby
like-
because like he knew what he was doing with Anna Lucia, but Libby legitimately was like an accident. Like
yeah. And it's like, I no longer like Michael. Like, I want to see Hurley beat Michael's ass.
oh, absolutely.
But, like, I'm still loving the acting and how the character is being written here.
So now we have Locke and Echo in the Pearl, and
We
the
see
Pearl
the TVs.
gets- yeah. So they have the camera feed from the hatch, and they see a log of all the button inputs from the past
Yeah.
however long. They all get sent out
Yeah.
into pneumatic tubes.
Yeah, by the way, I love pneumatic tubes. Aren't they just the coolest?
They are. I don't
Did you
know
ever
why.
see that? Did you ever see that TV show as like the cartoon? I think it was on like PBS. Well, I don't think you have PBS in Canada, but the cartoon that was about this guy, this like kid who shrunk so he was like tiny, and his family was normal sized, and he had this whole system of pneumatic tubes in his house to get around.
Huh. No, I just know
forget-
that from Futurama where they have pneumatic tubes for everything to get around.
I forget the name of that show, but I liked that cartoon when I was very young. Anyway.
Anyway, one thing to note is that they get the orientation tape, and this orientation tape is on a VHS tape and not film because there's no electromagnetism here, so it wouldn't get wrecked.
Oh, good point. Good, smart detail. Anyway,
Yes.
they get a speech from Mark Wickmund, who looks kind of familiar. I'm not sure why. He reminds me of an actor I saw in The Expanse. But anyway,
Right. But one thing that is interesting to note is on the orientation tape for the Swan, he refers to himself as Dr. Marvin Candle, but now here he's Dr. Mark Wickmund.
I thought you already told me about that. You told me he just uses a name that's different for each one.
Yeah, but they're all related to candles, is my point.
Oh, Wick. Oh.
And another one, I think we saw him filming back in the 70s. I think he used the name something Halwax, so he had wax in there.
Okay. But anyway, he explains that the job here is to observe the Swan experiment. First of all, okay, they were setting up this experiment in the Swan, and then they repurposed it to handle the electromagnetism. That's fine. Why were they setting up that experiment? Like the Dharma Initiative was trying to unlock magical energy that could let them control time, and yet at the same time, they were
doing
like,
more than that, though. They were doing more than that.
Why? I don't see how this fits. Anyway,
Well,
secondly,
they also had a station to study polar bears. That doesn't. I don't know if you did. And they were studying sharks too. Like,
they were studying sharks.
you know the shark that attacked Michael and Sawyer? If you look closely, it had a Dharma logo on its side.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
This is basically Locke getting owned and all the viewers also getting owned. And I love that, like, this isn't the season finale, so, like, after all of that shit of what is the button, they're just like, haha, it really is exactly as Jack called it. It's just some stupid psychological
Yeah,
experiment.
exactly.
And yet we know that it's actually electromagnetism.
Locke is just completely destroyed now. But
Oh,
Echo is completely inspired by this.
Echo wants purpose that he chooses. He doesn't, as he puts it, they don't push the button because the film, they push the button because they believe they're meant to.
Yeah, and, he says that they're being tested by this, which is like, it's just interesting to see the dynamic between these two.
Oh yeah, one's losing faith.
It's just, because Locke's angry because he thinks that, if the button is useless, then my entire life has been pointless. Because to him, he felt like his life was leading up to the button.
His life has sucked so much, and then he got this purpose, and now he's losing it. But I also feel like Echo makes a pretty good argument when he talks about the sheer coincidence of everything with Yemi ending up here and then him ending up here. That's a decent argument for, there's something going on here.
Yeah. So Echo decides he's going to be pushing the button now.
Yeah, which I thought they would still have, shifts. I don't know why they would stop having that.
Well, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, I guess Locke kind of, took soul button duty to keep people from finding out about Ben.
Yeah.
And now Echo's taking it.
Yeah, and now we get just such a sad scene with Libby finally, dying in the hatch,
Yeah.
and Hurley saying he's sorry he didn't remember the blankets, which is, dagger in the heart.
And a great dagger into Michael, who deserves daggers.
Yes, and then Libby, she wakes up enough to say Michael, and then dies, and it's like,
Okay, so first of all, yeah, oh my god, why couldn't she just say Michael shot me? But second of all,
she was seconds from death. I mean, we can give her a break.
No. I think this is Jack's fault. Because Libby says Michael, and then Jack says, oh, it's fine, Michael is okay. And then she starts hyperventilating, which I think that she panicked and freaked out because Jack was saying, oh, Michael's okay, her killer was okay, instead of her killer was caught. That made her freak out and pushed her to die a little bit faster, where if she stayed calm, she could have finished and said, shot me. I think this is on Jack.
I don't know. Anyway,
I mean, it's really on Michael.
Yeah, so then she dies, and, Hurley is crying, and then we get a creep shot of Michael.
Yeah, he is looking at the paper, and he burns it.
Yeah, so any idea what the flashbacks for this one were?
Is this already a new one?
Yep.
I guess it was probably the one I just saw of what happened to Michael at the others.
Yeah, it was all the on-island flashbacks
Yeah.
for Michael. That's how you know they're running out of material.
Well, this does make sense to show. But I forgot to mention, I expected these episodes to go into it way faster, and I, of course, forgot that it's season 2. They gotta draw it out.
Yes. So Michael is trying to get everyone there to leave right away because, pretty coincidentally for him, it's everyone on the list is right there. So he's like, hey, let's go.
Yeah, and Hurley's just like, they're not even buried yet, and it's like, yeah. That's tough.
Then Michael is cleaning up all the blood, and then Echo shows up and just gives him this creepy monologue about hell and doing bad things and forgiveness.
Yeah.
And
well, I think I get the point Echo's making, because Michael asks, so you believe in hell? Because Michael is scared he's going to hell now because of what he's done, and Echo is telling the story to make the point that if the only reason you don't do bad stuff is because you're scared of hell, then you're not really being good.
Yeah. So then Michael goes and, throws up out of, regret and disgust. And
yeah. I feel like people can change. Forgiveness has value. I also don't believe forgiveness is everything like Catholics do, but people can change. But Michael is not there. Even if he already regrets it, you just made the choice to kill people. You don't get forgiveness yet. No, you do not.
Yeah, and it's not even like, I get earlier in the season in talking about forgiveness, we have, Anna Lucia accidentally kills Shannon, but it felt like she really did change and
That
try
was
and come back from that, and it was an accident.
accident.
And it was more understandable, but with Michael,
this is premeditated.
Michael is still trying to rationalize in his head that it's okay, that what I did is okay because I'm gonna get Walt back by doing this.
Yeah.
Like
there was no killing Shannon was okay on Ana Lucia's part. She was just panicking because she knew she was screwed.
So yeah, Michael starts demanding that just the 5 of them go, and Jack says sure, but then he's gonna go talk to Saeed anyways because of course you're gonna go talk to Saeed.
Yeah, okay, I want to talk about Saeed later, but I feel like Michael really uses the excuse of this is my son, we're doing it my way, and that tends to work on people, but it's totally wrong because Michael's whole idea of he needs to do things his way on his own, that screwed him because he went looking on his own. He got caught. They really shouldn't be agreeing to this.
Well, yeah.
I get that it's really important to Michael. It's very personal, but him doing it his way already failed.
Yes. So then we have Charlie talking to Claire, trying to get back in her good graces and everything.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, I'm building a church because I'm a good person now."
Yeah, and he gives her just vaccines, which, look, in real life, this is a pro-vaccine podcast, but random vaccines that just fall out of the sky, maybe question those.
What is it for?
It's not for anything.
Why would nobody else need it? It's so nonsense.
To be fair, at least Charlie did say, "Oh, I tested it on myself and I'm fine," which is okay, I guess it doesn't have any short-term bad effects, but whatever. It is just literally like saline. It's literally nothing in there, but
it's nothing. But it's this isn't even a plot line that's going to go anywhere.
No, this is it. This is the end of that plot line.
It's just a one-scene thing for Charlie to get in her good graces, because how would you even make this matter? We know there's no contagion. It's nonsense. Now, if there were a contagion on the island and some people were stupidly refusing to wear masks, then they should use it.
Yes. Well, we know there is some kind of sickness that, Rousseau experienced, but this doesn't seem like it.
We also know that's not real, and no one else is experiencing anything.
I mean, it did make Rousseau's, baby daddy try and shoot her, so...
Yeah, I know. It's understandable for her to believe that. Anyway, Charlie's about to basically ask to get together with Claire, and then Claire's like, "Oh my god, Michael's back." Jin runs up and hugs him. Michael does not deserve his hug.
I know. Everyone is so happy to see him back, but it's just no.
And then Sun sees that they're digging graves in his bodies, and Michael's like, "They were murdered," and that is not a lie.
No, he just forgets the last 2 words of "by me." So Jack and Sawyer...
You know what? Michael is falling for a common writing mistake. He is using passive voice. He is saying, "They were murdered." You have to use active voice and say, "I murdered them."
Right, so...
Anyway, yeah.
Jack and Sawyer are getting the guns all prepared, and, Sawyer thinks that getting caught in the net is now the new euphemism for doing it.
I mean, it was a very sexual net.
It really was. So Sawyer also gives Saeed a gun to join them because of course you're gonna want Saeed. That's literally just logical.
Yeah, they're literally it's not Michael's decision. It's our decision. And yeah.
Yeah. So then Echo's in the hatch.
Okay, I don't want to say it makes more sense to take Saeed than Kate, because that has baggage, because Kate is left out unfairly. So I'm going to say it makes more sense to take Saeed than Hurley.
Well, exactly, yeah. Kate knows how to track, Kate knows how to shoot. Then Echo in the hatch, we get another reminder that, hey, there is this, wall here that when you walk by it, metal gets, gets magnetized towards it.
Also... I feel like, okay, so something happens later, but I want to comment about what I thought before I saw that, which is, it would be good for Saeed to not go, though, because if Saeed was there, Ben would want revenge, I think. So I want Saeed to go because he's cool and competent, but I also want Saeed to not get screwed by Ben wanting revenge on him.
Remember when Saeed shot him right in the chest?
Didn't Saeed get shot in the 70s?
He did.
I don't think I ever found out if he's gonna be okay.
You did not.
I wasn't really that attached to Saeed at the time, but I'm very attached to him now. I hope
you'll find out what happens to him in due time.
I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming that they survive the nuke by the island decides to put them back in their present time. I'm sure it's some shit like that.
You'll see.
And I'd hope that in their present time they would have the ability to treat Saeed's wounds.
You'll see. Anyway, Echo tells Charlie they're not bringing the church. They're not building the church anymore because that plotline is over.
Because how could you possibly make that plotline matter?
You don't. That's it. So we have Michael, who's very mad that Saeed is joining the hunting party, and he goes to tell Saeed off, and Saeed pretends to be like, "Oh yeah, sure."
There was more I had to say about Charlie, in that Charlie is like, "What am I supposed to do now?" And Echo is like, "Bring me my thing," which is like, stop being a dick, Echo. I 100% get why Charlie is annoyed there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But anyway, yeah. Michael just gives his nonsense excuses to not make Saeed come. Like, oh, you care more about revenge than getting Walt. Like, no, he doesn't.
Mm-hmm. So then we have Charlie trying to build this church by himself when Vincent brings him a statue, which is, he's literally like, come on. Like,
did someone put you up to this?
Yeah.
And he finds the statues in the stash, and I almost feel like you shouldn't get rid of them because Jack did
like, we just found out there was a medicinal purpose for them,
but you know what? It's not that important of a medical purpose, so I mean, I'm proud of him that he makes the right decision.
Yeah. And, Locke is watching him, and I feel like there would be a scene between them if Locke wasn't going through his own shit right then.
Yeah, the thing is, he turns around and then he sees Locke there, and I'm like, well, Locke is sitting. Did Locke walk up there while he was throwing them, or did he just not see Locke when he went up to throw them? It doesn't matter.
Made more sense to the director.
Anyway, it is still kind of Locke's fault for not supporting Charlie enough. Locke was not that helpful during some stages of that, but okay. At least it's resolved. At least now Locke thinks of Charlie as somebody who makes the right decision.
Then Sawyer, he's talking to Jack and is like, oh yeah, I got caught in the net with Ana Lucia, so that's how she got my gun.
And I think he feels bad because if he was less horny and didn't let her get the gun, a lot of this wouldn't have happened.
Yes, and he says that Jack's the closest thing he has to a friend on the island, which is like,
damn.
They always, the end of season 1, they have Sawyer, revealing that he met Christian to Jack, and now near the end of season 2, they have this. It's like at the end of the season, they try to make them more friends, even though we know by next season they're going to be back in each other's throats.
We've seen what happens when Sawyer is like, you sucked as a leader back during the 70s. Which back during the 70s arc, I had a call. I called that Sawyer saying Jack was a bad leader was probably bullshit. Jack was just in much more difficult situations.
Back in the 70s, Sawyer's like, when you were the leader, people died. It's like, excuse me, how is he supposed to have stopped any of these deaths that have happened?
The situations he was in were tough, and Sawyer would have done no better.
Sawyer was actively causing a problem for most of them.
I hope when we get season 6, Jack is back to being the leader, and it's not Sawyer.
Season 6 is complicated.
Yeah, I mean, you've told me Richard's going to be a main character by then. It's who knows what the dynamics will be.
There's going to be 2 other people who are main characters that you haven't even met yet. Like,
yeah.
Anyway, so Kate and Hurley are digging graves, and Hurley doesn't want to go with Michael because obviously.
Yeah. And Kate is like, holy shit, don't pressure him on this. And it's like, yeah, if you think critically about Michael being insistent about these things, it's very suspicious.
So then they have a nice kind of funeral scene, and Locke starts walking again. And
Because who wanted to see him on the crutches
Yeah.
for that long? The writers definitely didn't.
yeah, Saeed just goes to Jack and is like, "Yeah, Michael's fucked. We can't trust him."
And I'm so happy to see this because I didn't see it coming. Partially because I thought they would already be going by now. I didn't expect this whole time of them doing the funerals and burying them.
And it's especially
But,
like, you didn't trust him when he said Ben was an other, but you need to trust him now. Like,
Yeah.
he can read
Like,
these people.
Well, the thing is, like, I didn't expect to just have this much of, like, Michael spending time trying to convince people, but once we see him trying to convince people, like, yeah, it's suspicious, and Saeed is a smart character, so I'm really glad to see, like, somebody, especially him, actually noticing. And also, like, I expected just, like, I knew how season 2 would go, that they get caught there and Jack has to do surgery, but I didn't expect, like, I expected that to just happen. I didn't expect... How do I put this? I expected them to be fooled. I didn't realize somebody would realize it, so I'm really glad to see that happens.
Right. So anyway, back at the funeral, Jack gives a nice short eulogy for Ana Lucia, and Hurley gives one for Libby. It's all very
Then
sad.
he's guilt-tripping Michael, and then he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go. And I still want to see Hurley beat Michael's ass.
Yeah, and then we have Claire holding Charlie's hand, so
Yeah, I
that
feel like that's
plot line is wrapped up.
Yep.
He's good Charlie again.
I feel like they should have had more to talk out than just this.
I feel like I'm gonna say this. I feel like season 3 Charlie. I feel like in season 3 that's where he's really good. Like, people really like
Alright.
Charlie by season 3.
After this whole arc of, like, dark Charlie being a thing and me actually sympathizing with him, I'm a lot happier with Charlie now than I was during, like, all of season 1.
Yeah, I will say there is one character in season 3 who people really don't like in season 3, including me. So
Oh, can't wait. But
they
I
do
just
some
feel like,
dumb shit.
I just feel like Charlie and Claire should have had, like, a conversation about the heroin. Because, like, she did believe he was using it. And he wasn't. And I feel like she would believe him now. I mean, he could say Locke watched him throw it all away. But I feel like that conversation should have happened. Maybe it just happens off screen. But anyway...
I feel like she just trusts him now. Like,
So, a whole lot of stuff is happening. We know that a lot of people are going to go to the other's base. We know that Jack's going to do the surgery. We know that whole trick is going to happen. Stuff has to happen with Michael and Walt. Maybe they leave. They probably leave, because I know Walt is going to just get away. And Locke is going to do some things. I don't know where his plot is going. And I feel like, because we got the bait reveal that the button did nothing, that would just debate us, but then the season 2 finale reveals that it actually does do something, so something needs to happen there. Maybe they finally let it count down. I don't know what that's gonna do, because I know it just lets out an EMP, so I don't know what the circumstances will be, but there's a lot of stuff that's set up to happen. I don't even know what characters like Jin and Sun might do, but there's so many moving parts. I feel like we have more than enough for a finale.
and then
And
Sun
now
sees a sailboat.
we finally find out where the fuck Desmond was. He tried to leave on his boat, and it didn't work, so he's floating back here.
Yeah, every time you kept saying, "Where's Desmond?" And I'm like, the answer is he's working on his boat and trying to sail away. That's it. But I couldn't say that every time. I'm like, you'll see. He's coming back.
Finally, he's gonna talk to the other characters, and oh well, I just answered one of my questions. He can probably tell Locke what the button does.
What does Desmond even really know, though? Because
I mean, he can tell Locke what he was told the button does. Like, we can have that plotline go somewhere.
Well, because think about it. What happened to him was kind of what Ben said happened to him. It flipped over into Egyptian hieroglyphics and started making a big whirring noise and blah, blah, blah. And then, Desmond was freaking out, so he entered the numbers. But Ben said he didn't enter them and it flipped back anyway. So, who can say?
But he was told by Mr. Krabs that there was the electromagnetism. Like, I'm not saying that they have to take that as fact,
Well,
hoping
yes,
to
and
have a
Mr. Krabs also
conversation.
told him about the key that you can insert to
So I
blow
just
up
think
the dam.
this is a route for this to go somewhere. This is a route for them to possibly find out some things or some possibilities. I feel like we're gonna see Desmond and Locke talk.
Oh,
Echo.
you know what? That's not really a spoiler to say you'll see two
Yes.
characters talk.
Like,
So
I'm just,
yeah, you will.
I'm not like that's not even a prediction. I'm just saying like, oh, I see how these plots are going to connect. I see what Desmond is, some of what Desmond is going to be doing, why he has to be here, because we
Yes.
have to explore more about the button.
Exactly. So I think that's it for this podcast episode.
I'm glad we only did one this time because time constraints, but I wish we could see what happens next and see what Desmond is up to right now.
Right, but for that, you'll have to tune in next time where we will be covering both episodes for the end of the Season 2 content, and then we'll finally be off to Season 3. Very exciting. Hope you're doing this next time.